Is buying a home even an option for pastors anymore? With home prices soaring 50% over the last 5 years and salaries not keeping up, it's looking more like a pipe dream than a reality. Today, we're going to break down why owning a home is harder than ever for pastors and how some are finding creative ways to make it work. That's all coming up in this episode of the More Than a Pastor Show. Let's get started. Hello, my friend. Welcome to the More Than a Pastor Show. I'm Rich Avery, your host. This is a show where we help pastors, missionaries, and other ministry leaders to grow your income and build financial security. We'll help you take your skills, experiences, and ministry know-how and leverage them into sustainable income outside the church through a business or a side hustle that's right for you, so you can serve God and provide for your family no matter what. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. It's always great to be with you, and I always enjoy the time we get to spend together. If you are new to the show, you can learn more about me, get the show notes for today's episode and the blog post that goes with the episode, and download some free resources to help you grow your income and build financial security. You can find those at my website at morethanapastor.com/75 for episode 75. Hey, would you like to show your support for the show and the content I'm creating here to help pastors, missionaries, and other ministry leaders to grow your income and build financial security? Now you can do it through a crowdfunding site called Buy Me a Coffee. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Rich Avery. I'll also put the link here in the show notes. And you can give $5 to buy me one cup of coffee or $10 to buy 2 cups. You get the idea. You can give any amount that you'd like just to show your support. And your gift of 1 or more cups of coffee will be a huge blessing and encouragement to me and help us defray some of the costs of creating the episodes and maintaining the website and paying for the podcast platform that we use and things like that. So whatever you can give will be a big blessing and encouragement for us as we hope to bless and encourage other pastors as well. So, hey, thanks so much for your support. Thanks for being a listener or viewer to our More Than a Pastor show. And now let's get on to the show. I was shocked to learn recently that the median home sale price in the U.S. had risen 50% over the last 5 years. But then again, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised knowing how much my own kids are paying for their own housing these days. The median sale price of homes in the U.S. at the end of 2024 was $420,000. As I read this, an unsettling question came to my mind. Can pastors afford to buy a house anymore? Rising home prices and higher mortgage interest rates are pushing monthly house payments out of reach for many prospective buyers. And the expectations are that these prices will continue to rise because there's a huge increase in demand and there's still an ongoing shortage of supply of housing across the country. I believe this creates a very difficult situation for pastors, especially for younger ones starting out in ministry and raising a family, because pastoral salaries, by and large, have not kept pace with inflation or rising housing costs. How many churches do you know that have been able to increase salaries 50% over the last 5 years to keep pace with rising housing costs, or even 25%? I think you and I both know the answer to that. The situation becomes even more challenging in high-cost areas like California, where the median house price is more than $700,000. With home prices significantly higher than the national average, the dream of home ownership for many pastors in those areas feels impossible. For as long as I can remember, the general rule of thumb for home affordability was to spend no more than 30% of your gross monthly income on housing expenses, including your mortgage, taxes, and insurance. But some financial advisors like Dave Ramsey, for example, suggest that you pay no more than 25%. Sadly, the new normal in some high-priced housing markets today has buyers paying 40% or more of their gross income for housing. This just doesn't seem advisable to me or even possible for most people, especially those of us in ministry. So, Is the dream of home ownership slipping away for pastors? Is it becoming out of reach for pastors to be able to have their own home? I think it's a troubling question, but one that we need to face. If church salaries are going to continue to lag behind inflation and housing costs, future pastors may find it nearly impossible to own a home without pursuing additional sources of income. So how can pastors afford to buy a house given today's high prices and stagnant wages? Here are 5 possible ways to make it work. The first one is the 40-year or the interest-only mortgage. Now, the most common mortgage in America is the 30-year mortgage, but some brokers are now offering a 40-year mortgage. It typically offers lower monthly payments on the one hand, but higher interest rates and slower equity growth on the other. But with an interest-only mortgage, the buyer's monthly payment covers the interest only and not the principal for a set or fixed term. But they also have provisions that allow you to make payments toward the principal at any time. I think both of these mortgages, the 40-year or the interest-only mortgage, I think those are considered more risky options and probably not advisable for many people or many pastors, only if you're assured that the value of the home will significantly appreciate in value by the time you are ready to sell. Number 2 is an option that's much more likely and much more common for many pastor families, and that's a working spouse. That's putting the spouse to work. A dual income household can significantly improve your chances of affording a home, but this isn't always practical or possible, especially for families with younger children. A third option that's growing in popularity today is house hacking. House hacking simply means finding ways to generate income from your home, getting your house to pay for itself. One way to do that, a simple way, is to buy a duplex, and you live in one half or one unit and you rent out the other to a tenant. Other ways, if you have a single family house, is to find housemates to rent out rooms or other portions of your house, or listing your home or a room in your home on Airbnb, renting out a portion of your home or property for storage, or renting out your pool if you have one, or if you have like sports courts or a gym in your house, you can rent those out for other people to use on an hourly basis. I share more about this in episode 22 of the show, in a episode entitled 10 Ways to Make $500 a Month Renting Out Stuff You Already Own. You can find that at morethanapastor.com/22. I'll put the link for that also in the blog post show notes. Option number 4 is pastors launching their own business or side hustle. Another popular approach is for pastors to create income outside the church by starting their own business or side hustle, by finding other ways to create income. Pastors have so many skills that can be leveraged into things like consulting, coaching, writing, or other entrepreneurial ventures. These activities can not only generate income for the pastor and their family, but can also provide a creative and fulfilling outlet outside of the regular church responsibilities. If you're not sure how you could leverage your skills into extra income outside the church, I cover some options, or I share some ideas in episode 29. I share 11 ways that pastors can leverage their ministry skills into the marketplace. It's just some ways to help you jumpstart your thinking and help generate ideas that might be right for you. You can find that at morethanapastor.com/29. And again, I'll put the link in the show notes. The last option, number 5, is churches shifting from full-time to co-vocational pastor models. Increasingly, I think churches are going to have to rethink how they support their pastors, whether that means increasing their salaries to be more in line with local cost of living changes, or maybe shifting to a co-vocational ministry model, which frees up the pastor to pursue other employment or their own business or side hustle outside the church. Personally, I do believe co-vocational pastors are the future of the church. I've talked about that a lot in this show, especially one episode you might want to find is episode 37, entitled Is your church still trying to live in a world that no longer exists? You'll find that at morethanapastor.com/37. Also, I'll put the link in the blog post and show notes. So what do you think? Is buying a home even an option for pastors today, or for new pastors that will be coming into the church ministry over the next few years? Or is it time for churches and pastors to find creative ways to make it work today? You know, the rising cost of housing is a complex problem, and it won't be solved overnight. So many communities, especially my own in Grand Rapids, Michigan, we're struggling to find enough housing for people. And the costs are just going up and up for rentals or for people to buy their own home. But if church leaders can get serious about addressing the issue and can give their pastors fair compensation that keeps up with inflation, or if not, if they can't do that, if churches can begin to explore co-vocational models that allow pastors to create income outside the church, I think we can work together to help ensure that pastors can serve God in their congregation and provide for their family no matter what. Hey, are you a pastor who's been facing affordable housing challenges? If so, what strategies have worked for you to bridge that gap? Or is it time for you to explore other options, like maybe some that we mentioned here? If that can be of help to you and your church to navigate these challenges today and help pursue a co-vocational model or other ideas to help pastors be able to create their own income outside the church, I'd love to be able to help. You can reach me at rich@morethanapastor.com. Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for joining me today. And again, if you want to check out the blog post, show notes for this episode, you can go to morethanapastor.com/75 for episode 75. I hope this episode has been helpful for you. If it triggered something in your mind, or maybe you know of another pastor struggling in this area or another church that has questions about this, please send them the link for this show. It'll be a blessing for them, and it helps us be able to help spread the word. And we always appreciate whatever you can do to help let others know via social media about our show. That is a big help for us. Until next time, remember that you are more than a pastor. Saying yes to God's call doesn't mean you have to say yes to feeling stuck, broke, or unfulfilled in your life and ministry. Let's work together and help you create the life, impact, and income that you were made for.